Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Utopia podcast. I am Chris, and alongside me is Tommy. Tommy, how are you?
Doing pretty good tonight. I have a lot to digest for all the information this week.
That's right, a lot of news. What a difference a week makes. Last week we were all down in the dumps, a little disappointed that formation subs did not make the game. This week, quite a bit of good news came out, and so we're going to have a very busy 10 minutes of news. First off, the demo will be out, according to developer Adam Thompson, relatively soon. However, Team Builder will be out first. In the demo, you can change the difficulty, so if you want to know how it plays on whatever level you play, whether that's freshman or Heisman, you can find out. The NCAA Basketball 10 cover athlete will be announced early again this year, the day before the NBA draft. My personal hope is that it's Blake Griffin, but I'm guessing Tyler Hansbrough will probably get the cover nod, given that UNC will be the toughest place to play in the game. One new feature came out this week early on, and it was bans in the pregame. On the official NCAA Football 10 website, every weekday they're planning to show off one of these authentic routines. Every team in the game will have a band that shows up in the pregame. EA Sports contacted all 120 Division I schools, asked their band directors, please send us your routine on the Pyware software system. A bunch complied, sent them in. So there will be some schools that have authentic routines for their pregame. And four of them we know already: Houston, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, and Texas. Today, the team builder names came out. These are the names that if you create a team with this as their mascot, Brad Nessler will say and recognize them in the commentary throughout the game. There are 2,437 names that Nessler will recognize and say. Tommy, what is your favorite of the ones that you saw?
Personal favorite has to be the Winged Beavers. That name just, for some reason, jumps out at me. There's a lot of other good ones to pick from, but that one just grabs my attention.
My personal favorite is the Corn Jerkers. Little disappointed Cornholers wasn't in there, but Corn Jerkers I think is just as funny and humorous. Today, it came out a little early. This was something that EA Sports was going to wait until the second week of June to kind of announce and have a big marketing event around. Well, it came out in an ESPN interview with John Robinson. Producer Ben Haumiller spills the beans. I hope he's not in trouble. Ben's a good guy. Mix and match uniforms are in the game. This means if you were disappointed last year that you couldn't replicate all of Oregon's combinations, you can't complain about that this year unless they debut something the game doesn't have in, because you can change the helmet, you can change the uniform, you can change the pants, you can change, I believe, also socks and shoes. Is that correct, Tommy?
Yeah, it's still just a matter of choosing whether it's black or white, socks and shoes, but yeah, you can mix and match that to your heart's desire.
And that is something that I know a lot of people, especially Oregon fans, I know Clemson fans, West Virginia fans, basically anyone who really likes the uniforms and who likes the attention to detail is thrilled with this. And just for information's sake, at the community day I looked into this, and Oregon at the time had a home, away, and 13 alternates. But I believe that Adam Thompson came out and said that they have an extra one in there now compared to what I saw. So right away you can go in there, and they have a lot of alternates added into the game, plus your ability to mix and match. So it's going to be really difficult for people not to get the right combination in there.
Yeah, you can not only use ones that your team has used throughout their recent season or whatever, but you can also go in there and create combinations that aren't used. For example, Arkansas State, I might be able to use like a red jersey and white pants, which would never actually happen. But if I so want to do that, I can do that.
That's right. Anytime I think you give the users more option, it's always going to be a win-win situation. And that leads us into probably the big news of the week, and this came yesterday. It's another aspect of Season Showdown, the strategy aspect. A lot of people initially thought, oh, another Season Showdown blog? Well, this really addresses the core gameplay changes and some of the new game planning aspects of the game. And there's three areas, and this is a question a lot of people had. These aspects are in the game no matter if you sign up for Season Showdown or not. And I know initially there was some questions about that. These are core gameplay changes. They'll be in there no matter what mode you're playing, whether you're signed up for Season Showdown or not. So the first of the three categories is game planning. Tommy, I'll let you break down this feature.
Basically, this feature is a risk-reward type of feature. If you have a team that basically you can kind of set a few different options for your team. For example, if you want to have your defensive backs always go for an interception, well, they'll have a higher likelihood that they may intercept a pass, but then as well they'll have a higher likelihood that they'll be out of position to make a play. For example, if they miss the pass or whatever, then the receiver might have a wide open lane to the end zone. There are I think 8 different options for both offense and defense. that covers things from blocking to making a catch or trying to get yards after the catch, different things like that. And it really lets you tune for your team. I mean, it's almost like sliders for your personal team. What's nice is you can actually change these on the fly. So if you've got a big lead late in the game and you want to tell your halfback to, instead of trying to get extra yards, make sure to hold on to the football, you can go and do that late in the game and hopefully prevent him from actually causing a fumble.
Over at the Inside EA Sports blog, they have pictures of all the different things, and looking at it right now at least, they have 7 different defensive options and 6 different offensive options. And there's also like you were alluding to, the global option where you can go in there real quick and you can put everything into either aggressive or conservative or on the balanced, and everything defaults to the balanced. That way, if, like you said, if you're down late, maybe if you're down 14 early, midway through the fourth, you'll want to go in there and put everything probably on aggressive. Try to make a play happen. Granted, you have a higher risk of a turnover, higher risk of getting burned, but it also increases your chances of making a pick, making a big play to get the ball back to hopefully get in the game. Or if you're sitting on a big lead, you'll want to go conservative, and they'll protect the ball more. Probably won't make as many big plays, but they'll just be real solid play. And I think this is a great addition because you're really telling the AI of all the players how to act. And it's something where one of the earlier aspects of Season Showdown was the skills aspect, and that focused on just the one player with their stick skills, handling the one computer player. Now you can kind of tell the other 10 or all 11 how you want them to play. And that takes us into the second aspect, setup plays. And Tommy, you did a good job of this. Talk about setup plays and what you think of these.
Well, setup plays, a perfect example of these is play action. Basically, you have linked plays that they're sitting side by side in the playbook, and you'll see like a little chain link, little icon beside them. And, for example, if you run a halfback dive over and over throughout the game, and as well you have success, you have to have that success combined in there. But if you run that play with success throughout the game, then that'll build up the potential for you to have even more success whenever you go to run the play action based off of that play. It's not a guaranteed money play, even if it's set at 100%. That doesn't mean that you're going to get guaranteed yards or guaranteed completion. However, it just means that the computer will have a more likelihood of biting on the run so that you can have an open receiver downfield.
And this is something that in the blog and in the video that Ben Hellmiller and Russ Canary talk about it. If you set up a play in the first quarter, let's say you run a lot of ISOs and dives, you can set up that play action pass and you can save that for the fourth quarter, which a lot of teams in real life do. They'll set something up in the first half so they can execute the setup play late in the second half, hopefully make for a big play. And that, like you said, it's not 100%. And to kind of counter that a little bit and something that goes with it, and we'll tie this in a minute here, one of the other new additions to the strategy is defensive keys. Tommy, talk about the 4 different decisions you can make with defensive keys.
Well, there's the 4 main ones, and then there's actually, I guess, a 5th one that's also a defensive key. The 4 main ones are you can either commit to the pass, commit to a run up the middle, run to the left, or run to the right. As well, you can also key on a specific receiver. For the pass, obviously, it's just simply going to drop your defensive backs. Their first steps are going to take a step back into coverage. If you choose to run left or right, then you're going to have a swarm of defenders going to that side of the field, and the same for the middle. They're going to try to get in the middle. Well, if you guess right, then you're going to have a really good chance of making that stop. If you guess wrong, then the offense is going to have a really good shot of breaking a big play. So, like if you guess run to the left and they actually run to the right, they may have a completely wide open side of the field to just simply pick up extra yards.
The setup plays and the defensive keys can kind of tie together in some ways. And one example I know was talked on the forums, and Ben Hellmiller came in and talked about it and clarified it, was that let's say you have a play set up, a pass play perhaps. If you and your defensive keys go in there and tell your players to expect pass, they won't fall for the setup play. So you don't want to sit on your setup plays too long. You don't want to fall down by 21 and be in a mode where you have to pass, because your foe, if you're playing a human at least, will be using the defensive keys to key on the pass, and your setup play is going to be useless. So you really need to pick and use it in the right spots. That was a lot of news, Tommy. We got to it all in 10 minutes. I'm proud. We did a good job. Before we end the show, how many days are we away from the release of NCAA Football 10?
We are right at 1.5 months, 45 days. Still, I mean, we're getting even closer, and as you and I have talked about already, as we get closer, we're going to start finding out more information. We're kind of getting right into that sweet spot, especially with E3 right around the corner next week. We're starting to find out more and more information as we go along.
That's right. I think after E3, I think we're going to have a lot of gameplay videos, a lot more impressions, a lot more hands-on with the final version of the game, or at least a pretty darn close to the final version. So everyone, if you want to keep up with the latest news and information on NCAA Football 10, make sure to check us out at ncaaStrategies.com. For Tommy, this is Chris. Everyone, thanks for listening to this edition of the Utopia podcast.